taking you through some hip openers and low back releases, a source of a lot of tension for people, so it's a great way to find expansion and stress relief in this time. So we'll take these first few moments just to come to a seat. We'll take 5 rounds of breath, so allow yourself to close your eyes. Allow the outside world to fall away. And we'll feel ourselves draw in the breath through the nose. Nice, and then let it out through the nose. Again, in and out. Observing if you can push that boundary of your lungs. Take the breath in for 3. And out. Good. 2 more. Seeing if you can create a little more length. And out. Last one. In. And out. We begin to make our way to child's pose. So take your knees to the wide edges of your mat. And sink your hips back towards your heels. If it feels good to draw the knees closer together, you're more than welcome, just to support your body. Otherwise, feel your ribcage falling in between your legs. Now, there's a couple options for variations here. Your arms can extend overhead like Julie. Or maybe you take your hands back towards your heels, and Abby will demonstrate by reaching back for the heels, allowing the shoulders to kind of release in this space. If you want something that will stretch open the back sides of your shoulders, you can take 2 blocks about hips distance apart, place your elbows on the blocks, and then bring your hands to a prayer, bend at the elbows, reaching back for the back of the neck. Allow the weight in this space to shift to your third eye. It's that pressure point right in between the eyebrows. And as you breathe and feel that pressure, you can feel the tension start to drain from the face, from the mouth, and from the mind. Each breath expands your ribcage, so maybe you even feel the lungs pressing against your knees. Feeling the hips as they slowly start to sink, maybe a little wider apart. Just about 3 to 5 more rounds of breath, depending on how quickly the breath is moving and how much you've expanded your inhales and exhales. Last 2. Nice. Inhaling to come forward onto hands and knees. We'll find table pose. So if you have those blocks underneath your elbows, just lengthen your arms and then slide the blocks out of the way. And from here, we'll take a few rounds of cat-cow just to feel our spine release and warm up. So on your inhale, you would lower your belly towards the earth and press your sit bones, lifting your chin up towards the sky. On your exhale, round the chin in, and you'll press your shoulders, that back space up towards the ceiling. Nice. Inhale to lift the chin again, drop the belly towards the ground. Exhale to curl and round the spine. Take a couple more rounds on your own, just to feel the connection of body and breath movement. Nice, and exhale. Beautiful. 1 more full round. Inhale and exhale. And coming through to a neutral spine after your final exhale, lengthen through the back of the head. Nice, drawing the shoulders back just a little bit. Now, we'll take our knees over to the left side of the mat and sink your right hip down towards the ground. We're finding a variation on spinal twist here on the belly. So shifting the knees to the left side, sink your right hip all the way down, and then feel yourself lower your heart all the way down towards the ground. Arms can come out to a T. or maybe cactus arms. And if it feels good, you can turn your chin over your right shoulder. Now, if there's tension, this can cause a lot of tension on the neck. If you feel any sort of pain, feel free to turn your chin back in the direction of your knees. Now, if this is super hard on you, you can always come onto your back like Abby here, drawing your knees in towards your chest. Drop your knees to one side of the chin in the opposite direction. This is just a different variation, a more standard type of spinal twist here. And we'll feel the sacrum release. So each vertebrae, starting from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head, the neck, you can feel it start to open in this twist. We're bringing out the spine and allowing ourselves to get rid of any of that excess energy that we don't need here. Feeling that expansion of breath. If you're on the belly, maybe you feel the lungs pressing into the earth. Times we displace tension into other areas of our body, so checking in with the fingers and the toes, seeing if you can soften there. In this nice restorative practice, we allow ourselves an opportunity to ground in and find a little bit more stillness, a little bit more peace. So give yourself 3 more rounds of breath here. Last one. Maybe your eyes stay closed. Gently bringing your hands underneath your shoulders. If you're on your belly, you'll slowly start to press your heart up, lifting back up onto the knees. Shift them back towards the center of the mat. If you're on your back, just feel your knees come in towards your chest. Wrap your arms around the shins maybe, and take a gentle rock from side to side to release that sacrum. If you are on your belly, you can take a couple C-shaped curves maybe, turning the chin over to one side and arching the spine, and then taking it in the opposite direction, just to create some movement to relieve that sensation we created with our spinal twists. A couple more rounds of breath. And then we'll begin to make our way towards that second side. So taking your knees over towards the right side of your mat, if you're on your hands and knees, drop your left hip down. And then lower gently down onto the belly. Arms can expand to cactus arms or straight out to your sides. And if it feels good to turn your chin over one shoulder, do so. Noting that the right side and left sides of our body have this natural imbalance. So if maybe you turned your chin on that right side, this side is not available to you, but letting go of the judgment that can become attached to that, and instead just allowing our body to have this imbalance and working into the space, right from left, totally different. If you're on your back like Abby, you can see she's dropped her knees over to the right side. Finding that space, release and breathe. This breath cleansing out the body. And doing the check-in again, seeing if you've displaced any tension, soften. The exhales are release, not just of the breath, but also of that tension. Good, just 3 more rounds of breath. Last deep inhale and exhale. If you're on your chest, gently guide your chin back through center, hands underneath the shoulders. Press down to lift the heart back up onto your knees. We'll find that table pose and take any sort of counter stretch. So if you want to do the cat-cows like we did at the start, or if you want to sink back to something like child's pose and forward to upward facing dog, that's great too. If you're on your back, you can draw your knees in towards your chest, or maybe you knock your knees together, taking your feet wide and just windshield wiper the legs. Take whatever it is that calls to you in this space. Good. Just 2 more rounds of breath. Give yourself that expansion. Good. Coming through to a nice neutral spine, we'll make our way into pigeon and a variation of pigeon. So bring your right shin to the top edge of your mat. Your right knee will come next to your right wrist, and your right ankle will come next to your left wrist. Now lengthen that left leg back nice and long. And as you lengthen the leg back, you can actually draw your right hip towards the back of the room as well. And if you have trouble lengthening the shin to the top edge, that will help draw it forward. Good. On your inhale, you'll find length here. And exhale, you'll start to fold over your shin, maybe coming all the way down onto the chest. Or like Michelle here, bringing blocks underneath your elbows to support yourself. Bring the earth up to you and feeling that nice sweet release in the hip. The sensation can be very edgy. If you have any sort of pointed pain in this posture, come onto your back and you can cross your right ankle over your left knee. Good. Put a gentle flexation in the foot and then reach between that space for your left thigh or your left shin. You can start to draw that shin towards your heart. And this is the same sort of hip opener here. If you want something even more restorative, you can place a block under the foot. There's 3 different levels to most blocks. So if you have them, lower your left foot down for me, Abby. Great. And bring the foot down, you can release the thigh and find a nice, gentle, restorative version of this posture. Now this posture is very edgy, so see if you can expand the breath. Ask for 2 more once your mind starts to come into the picture. That's when the true yoga begins. So see if you can stay in this space. It's all temporary. Good. And then once you've taken those 2 rounds of breath, take 2 more. Continually asking the breath to be present for us. The sensation we experience in these postures mirrors the sensations we experience in real life. So we're practicing for those moments when we need this breath the most. Good. Last 2 rounds of breath here, and then we'll switch sides. Stay here, stay present, soften. Good. Finish that exhale. And then on your inhale, gently bring your hands underneath your shoulders. And you can curl your left toes under. And start to extend your right leg back. You could either finding downward facing dog, lifting that right leg back and up, or you could come to something like a table pose and just take any sort of counter movement here. That sensation starts to ebb away. Now if you're on your back, gently remove the block out from underneath your foot. Lower the left foot down, uncross your right ankle. Let's knock the knees together and take them to the right and to the left. Take a gentle windshield wiper. Good. Always taking some time to counter stretch that sensation we've created. Now we can bring ourselves back to a neutral space, moving towards our left side. So left shin comes to the top edge, left knee next to left wrist, left ankle next to right wrist. Extend that right leg back. Now, if you find yourself shifting more to the left, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe we need to stretch a little deeper into the left hip. But if you want to square yourself more into the center of your hips, draw that right leg more towards the center of your mat, about 3 inches. That can get you right up and on both hips. And then find your variation. Again, if you're on your back, left ankle crosses over your right knee, and reach for that space. Option to use the block. Find your variation and just breathe here. Stay present, stay present. The same thing, finding those places of tension. Sometimes it's our face that's moving. If you find yourself locking your jaw or sending tension to your forehead, your shoulders, your fingers and toes, try to soften there. Good, and that breath. Still ever present, maybe even growing in the space if you need a little bit extra. Fill your mind with that sound, the inhales and exhales. this space, everything will pass eventually. So commit just to 5 more rounds of breath. The mind is the part of the body that gives up first. So in this space, your breath is what keeps you here. It's what softens that mind space. Last 2. Last deep inhale. Finish that exhale. And gently bring your hands underneath your shoulders. If you're on your belly, press down, lift the heart. Maybe a slight back bend here, curling your white toes under. If you're on your back, you can just uncross that left ankle, take your windshield wipers, or maybe draw the knees in towards the chest. And if you're on your chest, find your way to your counter stretch. So maybe that's downward facing dog, maybe it's just table pose. Good. Maybe you come all the way down to your belly. It's your option, your choice, your practice. Eventually we'll make our way all the way down onto the back. And at your own time coming there, we'll come to a variation of bridge pose. So for supported bridge, if you have a block, that's great. This is the perfect opportunity to utilize this. You'll bring your feet just about 6 inches behind the hips and press down to lift your tailbone up, to slide the block on the lowest level to begin underneath your sacrum. That's the triangle of space just above your tailbone. As you lower the hips down, just take a moment to observe this space and decide if this is where you want to stay. If you want to deepen the sensation, you can lift the hips and shift the block to a higher level. You can also take full bridge pose by pressing down through the feet to lift your hips up towards the sky. Julie's interlacing her fingers underneath her tailbone and rocking just a little bit onto the shoulders. You can actually lift the hips a little bit higher. Abby has another variation as she reaches towards the heels, pressing down to lift. See if you can send the engagement to the tops of the legs. Press down and feel this energetic movement of the knees towards the front of your mat. And try to take as much of this sensation, as much of this engagement away from your hips, away from your glutes. We want to release as much as we can there. Still firing down through all 4 corners of both feet. Good, and keep breathing. We're not here for long. But we're feeling that expansion of our hips. Pressing down and releasing anything that doesn't surface here. Breathe strong. See if you can take 2 more rounds of breath. Good. As you can see, Michelle is extending the legs long. There's several different variations you can take here. Maybe recline butterfly with a block underneath your sacrum. Maybe knocking the knees together and a little bit more support. And finish this exhale and we'll slowly start to lower the hips down towards the earth. Knock your knees together here and take a windshield wiper first. We want to release the tailbone before we draw the knees in towards our chest. And if you're having a block underneath your sacrum, just press down enough to slide it out of the way. And same thing, take that windshield wiper to the right and to the left. We want to make sure we find this nice neutral spine before we draw the knees in towards the chest. Otherwise, we create this habit of rounding the spine after we arch it. Good. And finding stillness, bring the knees in towards the chest now. Wrap your arms around your shins. Maybe you bow your forehead in, giving yourself a hug, even whispering a word of gratitude. Always nice to encourage yourself for coming to your mat and giving yourself this restoration. And then as you're ready, you can release your right leg to the corner of your mat, and the left leg to the left corner of your mat, and find where it feels best to lay your arms. So maybe it's by your sides. Or maybe if you want a deeper connection, you place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Arms can come slightly away from the hips if you're extending them long towards the front of the room. And then just sink into this space of rest. Find your Shavasana, taking as much time as you need to ground in and restore.